So if you're trying to change the mechanics, it just doesn't work at this level. It's not going to happen.
So your prediction is, well, I mean, look, it may not matter because there's a chance Brock Purdy is ready for the start of the season, right? At the very least, he might miss a game or two, but he's probably going to be ready early on in the year. This isn't like a Kyler Murray situation. He's going to be back pretty soon.
Yeah, he's supposed to be back. You know, they're talking about the beginning of the season that he's already starting to do some throwing. Those are in line with things that I've heard from people around him, all those kinds of things. It appears that he's going to be okay, or if not okay right at the beginning of the season, somewhere early on in the season, right? Brock Purdy did a lot of wonderful things last season. He's still a limited player. And I think that, you know, they've got to make sure that if he's the quarterback, they've got to be perfect at all the other places, right? Like they have to be healthy at both wide receiver positions. They got to make sure that Kittle gets through the season healthy, that McCaffrey gets through the season healthy, that the offensive line is good, okay? Because Purdy is not a guy who's going to overwhelm anybody physically, right? That was what Trey Lance was supposed to be. He was supposed to be that overwhelming athletic guy who could make up for deficiencies in other areas. He's just not good enough at this point in time. Now, maybe things will change, but the guy that I saw last season, during the preseason and early on in the year before he got hurt, he got hurt right away. That guy was not good enough to play. He's tries hard, not good enough to play.
Jason Cole, our guest, Outkick.com senior NFL writer. He's also a Hall of Fame selector joining us here on the program. He's also the author of the book, Shut Up, Your Kid Is Not That Great. I can't, I mean, look, you have probably way more insight on this because I haven't read up too much on the story. All I know is the numbers. And Dalvin Cook has been a good, versatile guy. He played all 17 games last year, had, almost 1,200 yards on the ground, had another 295 yards. What do you have? The total was 1,173. Yeah. I mean, he had a good season. Yeah. And there's not going to be, he's not going to have a tough time finding work. I know the Broncos and Dolphins are supposedly interested. And I know that, the Vikings have somebody else they're ready to sort of slot into that spot. What does the future hold for Dalvin Cook?
Well, he's going to get probably some kind of 2 or 3 year deal. He's going to make his money. The $10 million that he was supposed to get this year. The reason that he walked away from their demands to, any kind of demands to renegotiate was that he knew that he could go get that same kind of money somewhere else. His agent's not stupid, right? He's had those kind of theoretical conversations. Well, if a running back who played for the Vikings recently was available, would you be able to, that kind of discussion, right? So he's going to get paid by somebody. He's going to get probably a 3 year deal, get his, $10 or $12 million up front for that deal. It's not going to be the average is not going to be the same as he has now, or at least not any kind of long-term guarantees out of that. But he's going to get his money. And yeah, I would think that he fits perfectly in Miami. That's where he's from. That's where he's going to want to play. He fits perfectly in what a Sean Payton offense tends to look like.
God, they need him. But let's be honest. Yeah. I think they need him far more than Miami does.
Well, I think Javonte Williams is actually a pretty good player, but we'll see. I mean, he's going to end up having a regular job. I just don't understand what the Vikings are necessarily doing because I think the Vikings forget what kind of season they had last year. They went 13-4. They were 9-0 in games decided by a touchdown or less in the regular season, and they lost the playoff game by a touchdown. And 2 of those 9 games were 2 of the most improbable comebacks in the history of the game, right? That Buffalo game where the receiver makes the incredible catch and then they're down 33-0 against the Colts, right? So, this is a team that's much more on the edge of being a 500 team than it is to really being a competitive 13-4 team riding into the playoffs. And we saw that in the playoffs because they lost to a mediocre Giants team that then got hammered by the Eagles. there's a long way between the Vikings and the top of the NFC right now, and it just got even further with this decision.
Well, the belief is they really like Alexander Madison, though, isn't that part of the calculation?
Like I said, they just got a lot further away from where they were. Madison is a nice player. He's a backup player. Okay. And he will generate stats. Don't get me wrong. He's going to generate some numbers that'll look decent, because if you give anybody 200 to 300 carries, they're going to generate some numbers, especially in an offense that is as kind of pass friendly as they have. And with Justin Jefferson, he's going to do okay. He's not Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook is the kind of guy who can break a big play in a critical game. And he did that 3 or 4 times last year at critical times.
I got about 30 seconds here. The move for Trae Young being elevated to QB1 for the Panthers, kind of a natural progression in your mind?
Yeah, Bryce Young.
Bryce Young. Sorry, Trae Young on the brain. I got the Hawks on the brain.
It's okay. The Southeast. It's all the same.
Sure.
Charlotte, Atlanta, whatever. Bryce. They took him number 1 for a reason, and he's prepared mentally to do this. This guy has played a lot of football between college and high school, and sophisticated high school football. He played at Mater Dei. This is not the same as Anthony Richardson, who played at the same high school my sons went to, and not a very good football program, even though it's in Florida.
I gotta go.
Yeah, so I'll just say that.
I gotta go. Jason Cole, always appreciate it, my friend.
Later. Be good.
We're coming back. Thanks, Jason. I'll see you later, my man.
Anytime, dude.
Absolutely.
Be good. Enjoy Seattle.
Thank you. Bye. To have you with us on this Thursday night. SportsMap Radio, the SportsMap Radio app, everywhere you can watch us as well. Be on the lookout for the Sports Wrap, our new TV show, coming to the TV dial somewhere near you. I just had a great call on that today. Let's talk some NASCAR. Since we're going to be off tomorrow, I decided we'd slip in Jerry Bonkowski tonight. AutoRacingDigest.com, NASCAR.com, Auto Week, giving us some time on the show tonight on the program. Talk a little bit about the Cup Series. Toyota Save Mart 350, Sonoma Raceway going on this weekend. First of all, recap a little bit from last week's race, the Enjoy Illinois 300. And, look, Kyle Busch, there he is at the end of the day, getting the win over Denny Hamlin. Talk about it.
Well, I'll tell you, I think the biggest thing that comes to my mind, Jason, I may not have the number exactly right, but 63 wins, I think it is now, that he has in the Cup Series. When this guy came in the series back in, 2003, I think it was, or 2004, I think it was, I remember very clearly Kurt Busch and I, we became pretty friendly, and he said that, if you think I'm good, wait till you see my kid brother. And he almost called it. It was like a prophecy about how good this kid was going to be. And look at now, 63 wins later, I guess it is. It's just an amazing thing. And, Kyle's 30, I think he's 36, 35, 36, something like that right now. So, he's probably, if he wants to, he's probably got a good another 7-8 years in front of him. And if he can win, 2-3 wins per season, that's going to put him into the 80s. That's a phenomenal potential, record that he could have. It's not going to be, come anywhere close to Richard Petty's 200 wins, but still, it's just a phenomenal, situation about who Kyle Busch really is. He's one of the best drivers, I think, that's going to go down in not only in our lifetime, but I think in NASCAR history. And
a great night for Richard Childress Racing. They get 59 out of a maximum 60 points?
Yep, exactly. So, people wondered if this marriage, if you will, between Kyle and Richard was going to work. And I'll tell you, man, they're fooling us. They are making this thing work so well right now, but the thing is, there.
To have you with us on this Thursday night. To have you with us on this Thursday. To have you with us on this Thursday night. SportsMap Radio, the SportsMap Radio app, everywhere you can watch us as well. To have you with us on this Thursday night. SportsMap Radio, the SportsMap Radio app, everywhere you can watch us as well. Be on the lookout for the Sports Wrap, our new TV show, coming to the TV dial somewhere near you. I just had a great call on that today. Let's talk some NASCAR. Since we're going to be off tomorrow, I decided we'd slip in Jerry Bonkowski tonight. AutoRacingDigest.com, NASCAR.com, Auto Week, giving us some time on the show tonight on the program. Talk a little bit about the Cup Series. Toyota Save Mart 350, Sonoma Raceway going on this weekend. First of all, recap a little bit from last week's race, the Enjoy Illinois 300. And, look, Kyle Busch, there he is at the end of the day, getting the win over Denny Hamlin. Talk about it.
Well, I'll tell you, I think the biggest thing that comes to my mind, Jason, I may not have the number exactly right, but 63 wins, I think it is now, that he has in the Cup Series. I mean, when this guy came in the series back in, 2003, I think it was, or 2004, I think it was, I remember very clearly Kurt Busch and I, we became pretty friendly, and he said that, if you think I'm good, wait till you see my kid brother. And I mean, he almost like called it. It was like a prophecy about how good this kid was going to be. And look at now, 63 wins later, I guess it is. It's just an amazing thing. And, Kyle's 30, I think he's 36, 35, 36, something like that right now. So, I mean, he's probably, if he wants to, he's probably got a good another 7-8 years in front of him. And if he can win, 2-3 wins per season, I mean, that's going to put him into the 80s. I mean, that's a phenomenal potential, record that he could have. I mean, it's not going to be, come anywhere close to Richard Petty's 200 wins, but still, it's just a phenomenal, situation about who Kyle Busch really is. I mean, he's one of the best drivers, I think, that's going to go down in not only in our lifetime, but I think in NASCAR history. And
a great night for Richard Childress Racing. I mean, they get 59 out of a maximum 60 points?
Yep, exactly. So, I mean, people wondered if this marriage, if you will, between Kyle and Richard was going to work. And I'll tell you, man, they're fooling us. They are making this thing work so well right now, I mean, but the thing is, and I kind of called it back, when this first was announced. I said, you know what? This has all the hallmarks of when Richard Childress and Dale Earnhardt got together originally. And I said, this is like, 2.0, if you will. And I'm not patting myself on the back, but I kind of saw this coming. And, there is so much these guys can still accomplish. I mean, Richard's 76, I think he is. So he's still got several more years ahead of him. I think he wants to, pick up where Dale kind of left off at. And I don't think there could have been a better choice to do that than Kyle Busch.
Spending some time with our friend Jerry Bonkowski, does a great job. AutoRacingDigest.com, NASCAR.com, Auto Week as well. And boy, Joey Logano was right there. He finished third. I know he's already got, one win, I think, this year, if I'm not mistaken. But Logano was knocking on the door in that race.
He was. And, I like Logano. I think that he certainly has the potential to win another championship this year. But, he's got a lot of guys in front of him. He's got Kyle Busch, obviously. He's got Kyle Larson. He's got Chase Elliott. Although Chase, still kind of a question mark whether he's going to make the playoffs or not. He's got to get at least one win and get up to above 30 right now because of the penalty points he had. But I mean, there's still a lot of guys, in front of it's going to be. This is going to be a very interesting, rest of the regular season, plus certainly the playoffs. I mean, we got the street race here in Chicago in a few weeks that I think is going to be. I won't say that's going to be the make or break race of the season, but if guys don't do well in that race who are kind of on the bubble, it could be all downhill from there for them. So we got a lot of good races coming up. Sonoma, obviously, this weekend. That's another big race. And I'll tell you. I'll tell you a real quick story, Jason.
Sure.
When I was with Yahoo back about almost 15, 20 years ago, one of the things about Sonoma was that everybody hated it. They were not road course drivers. They hated going to the road courses. That's in Watkins Glen. And then they started enjoying it. They started liking it. They started really getting into it. And they started learning. They started studying. I mean, a guy that I can remember very well about this is Kevin Harvick. He was from Bakersfield, California, which is only right up the road from Sonoma, and he'd never been on a road course. He hated them, but then he became pretty good at them, So it's kind of odd how the whole thing has changed over the last 15, 20 years, where these guys really enjoy going to road courses, like Sonoma, like Watkins Glen, etc. So it's just a strange study in, I guess, human psychology or sociology, whatever you want to call it, about NASCAR. These guys really like road course racing now.
Yeah, and look, I love the road course racing that much too, just because it's a much easier thing to imagine or relate to. For sports for me, a lot of it's about relatability. Why don't I watch a lot of hockey? I never played it much, but I played football. Even just with my friends out in a big backyard. I played baseball growing up through high school. I played basketball in high school, golf, tennis, bowling, all these different things. I could relate to them. With NASCAR, I can't relate to driving around in an oblong track or an oval track, but I can relate to driving on a road. So watching a road course race, I can actually imagine myself leaning into the turns and that sort of thing as I'm doing it. And as I watch this, as I look at the history of this race, the last 10 Sprint Cup Series races at Sonoma have had 10 different winners. So trying to handicap this thing is next to impossible. I know Carl Edwards won last year. How do you handicap it?
Carl Edwards, he's been out for the last 7 years. No, who won the last year?
Not Carl Edwards. Sorry about that. Not Carl Edwards.
That's right.
The name is escaping me. I was looking at the wrong information. It wasn't Carl Edwards.
That's right. But the thing about, the Sonoma is that, it's not just the racetrack itself. It's the beauty of the track. I mean, fans come out there. It's unlike any fan.
Daniel Suarez. Sorry about that. Daniel Suarez.
Suarez, yeah. But I mean, the thing is, it's unlike any track that I've ever been to. I mean, I take it back. There's one other track that kind of compares to that. That's Road America. But I mean, with Sonoma, you got just all this expansive area. I mean, people come out there, they sit on the grass with their, it's almost like going to Ravinia. If you know where Ravinia is here in Chicago, it's a big, place in the summer where people come to hear all kinds of different concerts and that kind of thing. It's, you sit on the grass, you have your wine, you bring your food. I mean, that's kind of like Sonoma, and it's like racing in the park. That's kind of a good way of saying it, and people just enjoyed it. I mean, they come there for the enjoyment of racing, but they're also really having a good time with their friends, their families. They're meeting new friends. It really is a great study in human psychology to see how people interact there. I mean, it's not the same kind of interaction you get, let's say, like at a Daytona or a Talladega. That's more blue collar, whereas Sonoma maybe a little bit more, if you want to call it, maybe a little bit more upper crust, if you will.
Kyle Larson won here a couple of years ago. It looks like he's the favorite to win this year. What do you think of his chances?
Well, Kyle's going to win, but it's not going to be Larson. It's going to be Busch. He's going for 2 in a row. I'm convinced. I'm convinced of this. I mean, this guy, everything is going so well for Kyle Busch right now. And I mean, not just the win last week, but I mean, just how this season has, just erupted in success for him. And, the one guy that I kind of feel bad for, although I understand why he made the change, is Joe Gibbs, because I think he felt that he had gone about as far as he could go with Kyle as his driver. He wanted to bring his grandson in. Okay, great. Grandson's 20 years old. But you know what? I have to bet somewhere deep down inside of Joe Gibbs right now, he's saying, well, maybe I shouldn't have let him go, that kind of thing. So I just like Kyle Busch. I think that, again, this is kind of like a rebirth for him and Richard Childress Racing as well. I'm not going to be surprised, Jason, if Kyle Busch wins the championship this year. In fact, I'm going to go on a limb and say he's probably going to win the championship.
I got about 35 seconds here or so. Chase Elliott comes off the one-race suspension. How is this race for somebody to come off of a suspension into?
He loves road course racing. I would not be surprised to see him win this race, and that would kind of be saying, okay, I have my suspension, I'm over and done with, I'm back in the game, and I win this race, and then I get in the playoffs. That's a possibility right there.
Great stuff. Jerry Bonkowski, always love talking to you, my friend. AutoRacingDigest.com, NASCAR.com, Auto Week. Check out his work. Enjoy the road race this weekend, my friend. We'll talk again soon.
Sounds good, my friend. Thank you very much.
Bonkowski. All right. It's going to do it for us for this week. We are off tomorrow again. VSiN programming in my place. Thank you to producer engineer Justin Barbosa, who had to deal with a nightmarish start to the show because of some equipment failures or software failures or something like that. Thank you to Justin for working on the program tonight. Thank you to Jason Cole, as always, our friend from Outkick.com, their senior NFL writer and a Hall of Fame selector. Also, special thanks to Jerry Bonkowski. Talking NASCAR with him, NASCAR.com, among other places. Don't forget, tomorrow morning, 8:45 a.m. Eastern, Alcaraz Djokovic. Get up early and watch it. I promise you will not regret it. That's going to do it for us. I'll catch you back here on Monday. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. Stay cool. Stay away from the smoke if you're on the East Coast. I'm Jason Page. Bye. Thanks, Justin. Have a good night. Thanks. All righty. Does it for us on the video side as well. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We'll catch you back here on Monday. Have yourselves a great weekend. Yeah. Have a great weekend. I'm Jason Page. Thank you. Have a great night.